You've gone from making brownie cameras to the lenses that are now mapping the far side of Pluto. You've reached the furthest reaches of the solar system, but today it's about a much smaller frontier we're talking about. Harnessing the power of light into the thinnest of components, the tiniest of components.
A new institute aims to bring light technology into everyday life more than ever before. See why the White House is backing integrated photonics. This week on Light Matters. This is Light Matters for July 29th, 2015. I'm your host, James Lowe. Photonics was on the national stage this week as Vice President Joe Biden announced a new $610 million manufacturing institute in New York. We'll have more on that later in the show. We'll also learn about a new kind of microscope with promising capabilities for drug discovery, and check out an art installation that's lighting up San Francisco. Before we dive in, though, I want to mention a viewer survey that will help us cover more of the news that you want. To make it worth your while, we're offering a $50 Amazon gift card. Look for details at the end of the show. Now here's Photonics Spectra editor Justine Murphy.
You're upset. Your emotions are getting the best of you, and you're dying to get it out via text message. We've all been there, and we all know that once that message is sent, there's no getting it back. So how can we voice emotions and thoughts without the fear of regret? The answer lies in San Francisco in an art installation that gives our innermost thoughts a remote, anonymous spotlight through the spectacle of light. The Murmur Wall uses LEDs, galvanized steel, acrylic tubing, 3D printed components, and custom electronics, and harvests local internet activity and user-submitted text. LEDs embedded in the acrylic tubes transform the words into bright streams of light. When the light stream meets 3D printed pods embedded within the artwork, small screens reveal the beam's original text, whether it's your darkest secret or just the latest internet search, and displays the message briefly before it continues on as light throughout the structure. Messages appear only once and are not collected, reused, or shared. You can find out more and submit your own message at murmurwall.net.
Thanks, Justine. Next up, Biophotonics editor Rod Pedrati introduces us to a new device that's said to have produced the biggest microscope image ever.
Capable of creating a nearly 17 gigapixel image representing 13 individual color channels, the microscope has the potential to address a major bottleneck in pharmaceutical research: the rapid processing of large amounts of biomedical imaging data. Researchers at Harvard and RMIT University in Australia came up with the imaging-based solution centered on an array of thousands of microlenses. Each microlens focuses a laser onto a small spot on the sample. The resulting emissions of specific wavelengths of light differ depending on what molecules are present, and each microlens is responsible for a very narrow portion of the sample. This fluorescence is then imaged back onto the camera. By studying the multispectral images, researchers can learn about the sample's composition and the chemical processes taking place within the sample. This lets them observe how cells and tissues respond to experimental drugs, which could be especially helpful in the development of cancer treatments. The research was published in Optica.
Thanks, Rod. Nominations are now open for the 2016 Prism Awards for Photonics Innovation. If your company introduced an innovative new optical or photonic product this year, you can enter the running at prismawards.org. After the break, we'll go to Rochester, New York, which will soon be home to a National Institute for Integrated Photonics Manufacturing. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Tom Laux. I work with Advanced Scientific Concepts from Santa Barbara, California. Today what we're doing is discussing our new Peregrine camera. The Peregrine is a 3D flash LiDAR camera. 3D flash LiDAR camera, or 3D flash LiDAR technology, is something that is unique to Advanced Scientific Concepts. This is the lightest weight 3D flash LiDAR camera on the planet. For more information about Peregrine 3D flash LiDAR cameras, you can contact us and get our information via the web, asc3d.com.
Welcome back. New York State will be home to the country's first Manufacturing Institute for Integrated Photonics, technology that combines optical components with microchips for faster communications, better sensors, and more. The institute is called AIM Photonics, and it will be supported by more than $610 million from the federal government, states, and the private sector. It will draw expertise and resources from a number of businesses and universities around Rochester and Albany. Vice President Joe Biden was in Rochester on Monday to kick off the project. He said it would create jobs locally and make the U.S. more competitive around the world.
AIM Photonics is going to act as a central hub and will give Rochester Optics business the space and the capacity they need to generate the next generation breakthroughs and secure American leadership in the manufacturing of integrated photonics. It's going to develop an open foundry that will give startups, students, and large manufacturers alike access to the same cutting-edge facilities, reducing the time needed to go from prototype to development to the next great idea.
After the ceremony, I caught up with Robert Clark, a University of Rochester professor who will serve as the Institute's chairman. He said that making real advances in integrated photonics requires collaborative, nationwide, public-private partnership.
I mean, to stand up something at the scale of manufacturing, that will put products into application, you're not going to get that from small individual blocks or contracts. You really need a large-scale effort, and you need the major corporate leaders engaged that will actually embrace and not simply utilize it for the defense industry, but bring it into the commercial sector, because it'll be far more cost-effective as a technology as it's integrated more and more into commercial applications, beyond that of the defense industry.
You can watch our complete conversation and read more about AIM Photonics at photonics.com/AIM. Before we wrap up, I want to tell you more about the viewer survey I mentioned at the top of the show. We want to hear about your interests and ideas for making light matters better. Go to photonics.com/LM survey, answer a few questions, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a $50 Amazon gift card. That's it for this week's show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.